The scanners on the Zarketh flagship Imperator flickered erratically as the vessel drifted toward the blue planet. What the ancient star maps labeled as a forgotten dead zone pulsed faintly with strange energy signatures. The mission was clear. Survey, then conquer. The Emperor's decree echoed through the command center. Earth was a prize to be taken, not a mystery to be feared. Sir, sensors are picking up unusual energy fluctuations around the planet, reported Commander Valen, his voice steady but eyes narrowing at the console. Interference disrupting our long-range scans. Admiral Korath slammed a fist on the command table. Disruptions or not, the Emperor's orders are explicit. We don't hesitate. Prepare the invasion fleet for orbital insertion. Valen glanced at the holomap where Earth spun slowly, its swirling clouds and vast oceans beautiful and alien. The message etched into ancient relics had been clear. Earth is a trap. But the Empire was confident. No planet was beyond their reach. As the Imperator dropped out of hyperspace into Earth's orbit, the crew marveled at the blue-green world below. Cities glittered with lights and vast forests stretched beyond the horizon. Scanners detected vast electromagnetic storms, far stronger than expected from a pre-FTL civilization. Deploy scout probes, Korath ordered. Within minutes, sleek, black drones launched into the atmosphere, slicing through wisps of clouds toward Earth's surface. The eyes of the Empire were everywhere. But then the first warning sign flashed across the bridge. Probes lost, Valen reported. Signal scrambled, cannot establish control. Impossible, Korath snapped. Bring more drones, send a full reconnaissance squad. But before reinforcements could arrive, a violent shockwave erupted from below. Orbital cameras caught a fiery explosion where one of the probes had vanished. Status? Korath demanded. Unknown energy discharge. No hostile fleet detected, replied the tactical officer. Valen's fingers danced across his console, searching for any clue. Sensors show irregular emissions, organic patterns, but not consistent with any species we know. On the surface, thousands of unseen eyes watch the skies. Human faces filled with a grim resolve, hardened by centuries of conflict and survival, stared upward. In a dimly lit command bunker beneath the ruins of an ancient city, General Mia, Torres clenched her fists as the first Imperial vessels pierced the atmosphere. Around her, a ragtag coalition of soldiers, scientists, and civilians prepared for battle. We don't know what they want, Torres said, voice steady despite the tension. But we do know this. They expect us to surrender. They expect fear. Outside, the first dropships roared through the clouds, disgorging armored troops into the ruined streets. But no screams of panic rose. Instead, resistance fighters melted into shadows, striking from rooftops and alleyways. A squad of Zarketh infantry advanced cautiously through a shattered neighborhood. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the street as a grenade detonated beneath them. One soldier dove forward, taking the blast to shield his comrades. "Medic!" the squad leader yelled, panic breaking through the usual cold discipline. But the soldier, barely conscious, grinned fiercely. No, not yet. The humans fought like cornered wolves, unyielding, desperate, fearless. The invaders' laser rifles burned the night air, but the humans vanished into smoke and rubble, reappearing where, least expected. Back on the Imperator, Korath's frustration grew. Why aren't they surrendering? Why do they keep fighting when they know they are outmatched? Valen's eyes remained fixed on the planet. Because they're not afraid of death. A chilling silence settled over the bridge. Suddenly, the ship's comm crackled to life. A voice, distorted but unmistakably human, cut through static. Zarketh Empire, the voice said calmly. You have been warned. Earth is a trap. Leave now or be consumed. Korath's fist slammed down again. They're trying to scare us with threats and myths. We're the Empire. No world can resist. But as another explosion rocked the planet's surface, a whisper ran through the crew like a shadow. What if they were wrong? Down in Earth's bunkers, General Torres stared at the transmission. They don't know what they're facing, she muttered. We don't just survive, we fight. We win. Or we die trying. Outside, the sky burned with fire and smoke, But humanity stood unbroken. The trap had been sprung. The sky was a cruel canvas of smoke and fire. The once proud city of New York lay broken beneath the relentless advance of the Zarketh invasion forces. Dropships, sleek and metallic, disgorged armored warriors who expected to meet fear, but found something else entirely. Lieutenant Rin Vox, squad leader of the Imperial Vanguard, surveyed the rubble-strewn street with growing disbelief. His units, pulse rifles, crackled with energy, but every step forward was met with unseen attacks. Sniper fire from the shadows, traps laid beneath debris, and a stubborn refusal from the humans to yield. "Contact. 2 o'clock," shouted a soldier as a spray of plasma bolts sizzled past. Vox dove behind a shattered car as an explosion erupted nearby. When the smoke cleared, the humans emerged. Not soldiers, but civilians armed with whatever they could grab. Hunting rifles, homemade explosives, even rusted tools fashioned into weapons. A woman with fire in her eyes stood atop a mound of rubble, her voice clear and unyielding. "You don't take our home," she spat, gripping a pipe like a spear. The soldiers hesitated. This was not the conquest they had imagined. These were not weaklings begging for mercy. They were predators. A sudden grenade rolled into the squad's position. Vox lunged forward, covering his men, but the blast tore through him with savage force. Pain exploded through his body as he hit the ground. "Medic!" Vox gasped, clutching his bleeding arm. "No!" barked Corporal Riss. "Stay with me, Lieutenant!" But Vox's vision blurred, and all he could see was the chaos around him. The humans fought not just with weapons, but with a ferocity that twisted the very meaning of survival. They were relentless and terrifying. In a narrow alley, a young man named Eli tossed a Molotov cocktail into an advancing squad. Flames erupted, forcing the invaders back. His hands shook, but his eyes burned with fierce determination. "We won't let you take us," Eli whispered to himself. "Not today, not ever." Across the city, other battles raged. The invaders expected swift submission. Instead, they found an unyielding storm of resistance. On the Imperator, Admiral Korath's patience snapped. "Report," he demanded as fresh transmissions showed growing casualties. "Troop losses exceed expectations," Valen admitted grimly. "The humans employ guerrilla tactics, striking and disappearing. Their coordination is astonishing." Korath slammed, his fist on the console. "They are supposed to be primitive. How can they fight so well?" Valen's eyes held a shadow of doubt. "Their resilience is unlike anything we have encountered. They don't fear death. They seem to embrace it. It's as if dying only makes them stronger." Back on the ground, Sergeant Kira Mallon led her squad through the ruins of a collapsed building. Her team moved with practiced precision, setting traps and cutting off supply lines. Kira paused, listening to the faint cries of wounded civilians. "Hold positions," she ordered. "We protect our own no matter what." A soldier next to her, barely out of training, looked uneasy. "How can they be so fearless? I've never seen anything like it." Kira's eyes were cold but resolute. "Because they have nothing left to lose." As night fell, the battle for Earth cities turned into a brutal game of cat and mouse. Imperial forces found themselves hunted by shadows and whispers, their technology blunted by human ingenuity. In a small command, post hidden beneath Central Park, General Mia Torres convened with her advisors. "We must capitalize on their confusion," she said firmly. "The Empire expects fear, but we give them fury." A scientist nodded. "We've captured one of their drones. Our engineers are working to reverse engineer its systems." Torres smiled grimly. "Good. We will turn their own weapons against them." Outside, the city groaned beneath the weight of war. Fires burned unchecked and the streets were soaked with blood and rain. Yet amidst the destruction, humanity's defiance only grew stronger. At the front lines, Vox struggled to rise, his vision dimming. But a strange thing happened. A figure approached through the haze. Not with a weapon, but with a hand extended. "Lieutenant?" The voice was calm, almost human. Vox blinked. It was a young human woman, her face smeared with soot and determination. "Why do you fight so hard?" he rasped. Her eyes bore into his. "Because we have to. Because if we don't, no one else will." Vox looked at the broken city around them, the shattered buildings, the fallen soldiers, and understood a truth he had never known. Earth was no ordinary planet. It was a crucible of survival, a trap set not to catch prey, but to forge warriors, and humanity was ready to burn it all down before it fell. The dim light of the Zarketh command ship's psychic chamber flickered as Commander Seelan prepared her mind for the operation ahead. She was one of the Empire's most gifted scions, trained to bend the wills of entire populations with a thought. Earth was a test, and she intended to prove the Empire's superiority. "Focus your energies," the psychic tutor intoned. "Breach their defenses and bring their leaders to submission." Seelan closed her eyes and reached out with her mind, probing the tangled web of human consciousness below. But what she found was not fear or confusion. It was chaos. Fragments of memories clashed like thunder: loss, pain, rage, hope, and something else. An unbreakable will. Her psychic tendrils lashed against a storm of resistance, shattering like glass. "Impossible," Seelan whispered, sweat beading on her brow. "Their minds. They fight back." Back on Earth, deep inside a hidden bunker beneath the ruins of a city, human operatives sensed the alien intrusion. A subtle pressure like cold fingers brushing their thoughts. Lieutenant Jaya Patel, a civilian, with no formal psychic training but a steel mind forged in hardship, felt the invasion crashing against her mental walls. "Stay focused," she muttered, gripping her head. The psychic assault was relentless, invasive, but she pushed back with all she had. Her mind was a fortress, not because of training, but because of trauma and fury. Years of war, loss, and desperation had shaped humans into survivors. The Empire had never encountered a species whose minds resisted like this. On the Zarketh ship, Commander Seelan's frustration mounted. "Amplify the probe," she demanded. "Push harder." Her fellow scions intensified their attack, but the humans' mental noise only grew louder, a chaotic cacophony of fear, hatred, memories of friends lost, screams of those killed. Instead of bending to the invaders, the humans seemed to drown the scions in an endless storm. One junior scion screamed and collapsed, his mind overwhelmed. Seelan felt a shadow of despair creep over her. The human mind was a riddle wrapped in agony, and she was losing. Admiral Korath paced the bridge of the Imperator, receiving reports of the psychic failure. "They don't just resist, they fight us mentally. How is that possible?" Valen, ever the analyst, shook his head. "Our technology and psychic powers have never encountered a mind this resilient. It's like they're designed to endure mental trauma. Their very souls reject control." Korath growled. "We must find a way to break them. If their minds cannot be controlled, we lose everything." Back on Earth, Lieutenant Jaya Patel gathered her fellow fighters. "They're trying to invade our minds," she said, voice calm but fierce. "Ignore their whispers. Our strength is in our chaos. Let them drown in it." A veteran soldier nodded. "Their minds are made for control and order. We're made for survival and chaos. That's why we win." The psychic battle raged on, invisible to the naked eye but devastating in effect. Zarketh scions grew weaker, their mental energy drained by the human storm of memories and pain. In one shattered city, a small group of humans took turns singing old songs, songs of loss, of hope, of resistance. The melodies created a mental shield, a protective harmony that blocked the alien intrusion. Commander Seelan, her mind battered and bruised, realized that Earth was no ordinary battlefield. "This is not just a physical war," she whispered to herself. "It is a war of minds, and we are losing." On the Imperator, Admiral Korath's voice cut through the chaos. "Prepare for ground assault. Psychic warfare has failed. Time to bring in boots and guns." But in the hearts of Earth's defenders, a new resolve blossomed. They were not just fighting for land, they were fighting for their minds, their souls, and their right to remain free. And in this war, humans were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Beneath miles of ice and rock, deep within the frozen heart of Antarctica, a team of scientists worked feverishly. The ruins they had uncovered were unlike anything seen before. A sprawling complex of alien architecture, cracked and worn by eons but unmistakably of extraterrestrial origin. Dr. Lena Moreau wiped frost from her goggles as she stared at the carved monoliths glowing faintly with dormant energy. The team's geoscanners picked up symbols matching star charts long thought lost to time. These relics told a story, one that shattered everything humanity thought it knew about itself. "It's incredible," Lena murmured, tracing the faint inscriptions. "These markings, they reference a precursor race, one that seeded humanity here on Earth." Her colleague, Dr. Takashi Oda, nodded slowly. "Genetic markers in our DNA align with fragments of alien biology. This isn't evolution alone, it's engineered." The ancient civilization had left a warning etched into the stones, a caution to any who would disturb the planet's slumber. Designed for war, born in fire, Earth is a crucible, not a refuge. Back on the Imperial flagship, intercepted transmissions from the research team flooded Imperial Command. Genetic weapons? Engineered warriors? Admiral Korath scoffed. Myth and propaganda to mask primitive defiance. But Commander Valen was less certain. These findings could explain their unusual resilience, their refusal to surrender, the mental fortitude. Korath slammed his fist on the console. "Enough. We don't conquer planets by legend, we do it by firepower." Yet the data gnawed at him. The precursor race, long vanished, had created humanity as a weapon of war, a species forged to adapt, endure, and grow stronger through trauma and suffering. Earth was no mere planet, it was a proving ground. Those who survived its harsh crucible were forged into unstoppable fighters. On Earth, General Mia Torres absorbed the leaked knowledge with grim satisfaction. "They think we are chaos and defiance," she said to her council. "But we are the end product of a war machine designed to break empires." A veteran soldier spat on the floor. "No wonder we don't break. We must use this knowledge," Torres continued. "Our ancestors left us more than survival. We have the tools to fight and win." In underground labs, scientists raced to unlock the secrets hidden in human DNA, genes that activated under extreme stress, triggering bursts of strength, pain tolerance, and rapid healing. It was a biological arsenal encoded in every cell. One researcher, a geneticist named Dr. Amir Khan, held up a blood sample and smiled wryly. "They engineered us to be weapons. Now we just have to learn how to wield ourselves." Meanwhile, the Empire's forces pressed harder. Frustration boiled over into desperation. Attempts to wipe entire cities from the map with orbital strikes only strengthened human resolve. On the battered streets, survivors adapted to the brutal new reality. Children trained with scavenged weapons. Engineers rebuilt downed drones into crude but effective artillery. Communities fortified ruins, turning once vulnerable cities into deadly labyrinths. "They think they're breaking us," Kira Malin told her squad. "But every blow we take sharpens us. Every loss steals our will." In the sky above, the Zarkith fleet hovered, blindsided by a species that seemed to grow stronger with every attack. What was meant to be a swift conquest was turning into a drawn-out nightmare. Korath paced his quarters, staring at holograms of battlefields littered with his dead. "Earth is not a prize," he muttered. "It's a forge, and the humans are the fire." Back underground, Lena Moreau stared at the ancient texts once more. The final warning was clear. This planet was never meant to be tamed. It was designed to create warriors. Humanity was born. For war, to survive and to conquer. The revelation settled like ice in her stomach. This was not just a fight for survival. It was a battle for the soul of a species forged in the fires of an ancient war, now awakened once more. The night sky over the ruins of Chicago burned with the glow of fires and the distant crackle of energy weapons. For months, humanity had endured, but now they were no longer merely surviving. They were fighting back. Lieutenant Jaya Patel crouched, behind a collapsed wall, her eyes fixed on the downed Zarketh scout drone, a sleek black machine humming faintly despite the jagged bullet holes in its chassis. Around her, a team of engineers worked feverishly to understand the alien tech. "We've isolated the energy core," whispered Engineer Malik, eyes gleaming. "If we can reverse engineer this, we can build weapons that match theirs." Jaya's jaw tightened. Good, because waiting to be hunted isn't a strategy anymore. Across the city, guerrilla fighters hit supply convoys with precision strikes. Stolen weapons and scavenged tech transformed ragtag groups into coordinated squads, capable of crippling entire patrols. The Empire's grip loosened. On the Imperator, Admiral Korath's temper flared with each intercepted report. "Another convoy lost," Valen grimly confirmed. "They're using our own ships against us. It's unprecedented." Korath slammed, his fist on the console. "How do they keep learning so fast? They're supposed to be primitive." Valen's voice was steady but concerned. "They're evolving, adapting, using our technology against us." Korath turned away, pacing the command deck. The pride of the Empire was cracking, and he knew it. Meanwhile, on Earth, General Mia, Torres watched a holographic map of the city's front lines. "Our people have taken control of 3 enemy outposts in the last week," she reported. "They're not just surviving, they're pushing forward." A junior officer looked up, eyes wide. "They're stealing their ships? Launching counterattacks in space?" Torres nodded. "We've captured several craft. Engineers have retrofitted them with human weapons and armor. They're ragged, but they're deadly." Torres tapped a command and images flickered. Small, battered ships darting through the dark void, striking Imperial supply lines and slipping away before retaliation. The ground, Lieutenant Jaya led a raid on an Imperial communication hub. The air was thick with smoke and tension as her squad moved silently through the corridors. Inside the control room, she placed a small explosive on the main console. "Stand back," she whispered. The blast rocked the building, severing communications, across a swath of enemy territory. "Communications down," came the shouted response over the squad's comms. "Imperial forces are confused." Jaya smiled grimly. "That's the point." Elsewhere, in a makeshift lab beneath the city, Dr. Amir Khan examined a stripped-down Zarketh rifle. "We've adapted their energy cells to power our devices," he explained to Kira Malin. "Our new weapons have the range and punch to match theirs." Kira hefted a prototype weapon, feeling its weight. "This changes everything." Night after night, the humans harassed the invaders, striking fast and vanishing into the ruins. Imperial soldiers grew wary, their confidence shaken. Vox, now recovering from his wounds, walked the perimeter of a captured outpost. He watched as humans reinforced their position, clearing debris, setting traps, and preparing for the inevitable counterattack. "They're not just fighters," he said quietly to a fellow soldier. "They're survivors, born from fire." The tide of war was turning. On the Imperator, Korath stared at a galaxy map with widening dread. Rebellions were flaring on nearby worlds inspired by Earth's defiance. The Emperor's dream of swift conquest was unraveling. Korath's voice was hard. "Send reinforcements, crush the uprising before it spreads." Valen shook his head. "They are not just fighting us, they are rallying the galaxy." In the heart of Earth's resistance, Torres addressed her commanders. "We hold the line, we take their ships, and we strike deep. This is our moment." As dawn broke over the shattered cityscape, human fighters moved out, not as hunted prey, but as hunters. The trap had snapped shut on the Empire. The darkness of space was pierced by the distant glow of battleships firing into the void, a furious dance of light and destruction spreading far beyond Earth's orbit. What began as a desperate defense of a single blue planet had grown into a wildfire raging across star systems. General Mia Torres stood on the bridge of the commandeered Valiant, a battered human warship refitted from Zarketh technology. The stars outside glittered with promise and peril. Reports flooded in from rebel cells on dozens of worlds, each inspired by Earth's ferocity, each ready to rise against the Empire's yoke. "We've broken their myth of invincibility," Torres said, her voice steady. "From the ashes of Earth, a galaxy-wide rebellion rises." Lieutenant Jaya Patel, standing beside her, nodded. "The Zarketh underestimated what we could do when pushed to the brink. They thought fear would break us. Instead, it forged us into a weapon." In the war room, holograms flickered with news of victories and losses. Several Imperial starbases had fallen to coordinated strikes. Supply lines were in chaos. The Empire's grip was slipping. Admiral Korath, aboard the Imperador, stared at the same holograms with grim fury. "These rebellions are spreading like wildfire. Earth was only the beginning." Commander Valen stepped forward. "The humans have become a symbol, a rallying point. Their resistance is contagious." Korath's jaw tightened. "We must crush Earth and make an example. Only then will the galaxy fear the Empire again." But the damage was done. The galaxy's oppressed had seen that even the mightiest force could be defied. Back on Earth, guerrilla fighters prepared for the next wave of battles, not just on the planet's surface but among the stars. Technology stolen and repurposed allowed small squadrons of human pilots to strike Imperial supply convoys far from home. Lieutenant Vox, now recovered and hardened by combat, commanded a squadron of these human ships. Their tactics were brutal and effective: hit hard, vanish fast. "Remember," Vox instructed his pilots over comms, "we're the spark that ignited the rebellion. We don't just fight for Earth. We fight for every world under the Empire's heel." In the depths of a rebel stronghold on the icy moon of Gliesa 76b, alien species long oppressed by the Zarketh gathered in uneasy alliance. Earth's defiance had awakened hope and forged a fragile unity. An alien diplomat addressed the crowd. "We were broken by the Empire, but not defeated. Earth shows us all what resistance means." Torres, addressing the coalition via hololink, raised her voice. "Together, we are more than a rebellion. We are a storm that will sweep away tyranny." Yet the Empire was not idle. Korath unleashed a brutal campaign of retaliation, targeting rebel worlds with overwhelming force. Cities were razed, populations displaced, and fear wielded as a weapon. But the resistance grew stronger in adversity. They adapted, learned, and coordinated. Each battle won was a beacon of hope. Every loss, a rallying cry. In the midst of this chaos, mysterious signals began to pulse from the outer edges of the galaxy. Enigmatic, ancient frequencies resonating with a power unknown. Dr. Lena Moreau studied the transmissions with a mix of awe and dread. These signals, they match the patterns found in the Antarctic ruins. There's something out there waiting. Torres frowned. "Something more ancient than the Empire?" Moreau nodded. "It could change everything, for better or worse." The stars, once silent witnesses, now sang a song of war and rebellion. The galaxy was awakening and humanity was at the heart of the storm. As the human-led coalition prepared for the battles ahead, a singular truth became clear. The fight for freedom would not end with Earth's survival. It was only the beginning. The flames of rebellion had spread across the stars. The signals pulsed again, rhythmic and haunting, deep from the void beyond the known galaxy. Dr. Lena Moreau sat alone in the dim glow of the command center aboard the Valiant, watching as the strange frequencies grew stronger, resonating with an energy unlike anything the scientists had encountered before. "These readings," she whispered, voice trembling. "They match the Antarctic ruins patterns exactly. It's a beacon or a call, something's waking." General Mia Torres stepped forward, her expression grave. "What are we dealing with, Doctor?" Moreau shook her head. "I don't know, but it's ancient. Precursor level. Far older than the Empire or even the Zarketh. If these signals are a warning, we ignore them at our peril." Meanwhile, in the shadowy halls of the Imperator, Admiral Korath learned of the signals through intercepted transmissions. His eyes narrowed. "Another threat?" he spat. "First Earth defies us, now this? We will crush anything that stands against the Empire." But as days passed, strange phenomena began to ripple across the war zones. Imperial fleets reported systems where their sensors malfunctioned. Ships vanished without trace. Eerie energy fields pulsed around distant moons. Lieutenant Vox, piloting his squadron near the fringes of the signal's origin, experienced it firsthand. Commander, our comms are going dead. His wingman reported. We're losing sensor contact with the fleet, Vox replied, voice tight. This area, something's interfering. Suddenly, a massive, shimmering structure emerged from a nebula, an ancient, monolithic construct of impossible scale and design. It floated silently, alive with pulsing light like a sleeping giant stirring from eons of slumber. The human fleet halted, awestruck and wary. General Torres stared at the ghostly colossus. This is what the signals were leading us to. Doctor, Moreau's voice cracked. The precursor creators, they built this. It's a relic of a civilization that shaped humanity. The Imperator arrived seconds later, its weapons trained on the enigmatic structure. Admiral Korath's voice was cold and ruthless. Destroy it. If it's a threat to the Empire, it will be obliterated. But as the first volleys of plasma lanced toward the ancient relic, something extraordinary happened. The structure emitted a wave of energy so vast it knocked the Imperator's systems offline. Shields faltered, weapons silenced. Korath gritted, his teeth as his ship spun helplessly. The relic awoke, revealing hidden panels and mysterious glyphs glowing with power. It projected a holographic message, an ancient warning etched across the stars. This galaxy has been shaped by war and strife. The creators forged humanity not as slaves, but as guardians. Awaken your true potential, or be consumed by your own violence. On the Valiant, Torres and her commanders absorbed the message in stunned silence. Guardians? She echoed. What does that mean? Dr. Moreau answered, voice steady. It means humanity's origin isn't just about survival or warfare. We were created to protect something, perhaps the galaxy itself. The relic's power began to resonate with human DNA, activating latent abilities hidden within their genes, the same traits that had allowed them to endure the Zarketh invasion and resist psychic assault. Lieutenant Jaya Patel felt it first, APO, sudden clarity, strength and connection to the world around her unlike anything before. Her mind sharpened, pain dulled, reflexes heightened. We're changing, she said quietly. The relic. It's unlocking something inside us. News spread rapidly through the rebel fleets. Fighters and soldiers began exhibiting enhanced physical and mental abilities. Healing accelerated, reflexes sharpened, and even some forms of limited telepathy emerged. The Empire, stunned by this sudden evolution, scrambled to understand and counteract the phenomenon. Korath's desperation deepened. If humanity's true power is awakening, we must annihilate them before they become unstoppable. But humanity was no longer fighting a mere war of guns and ships. They were awakening to a legacy buried in their very genes, a legacy of cosmic significance. As the ancient relic pulsed with light, the galaxy held its breath. The war was entering a new phase, one where humanity would either rise as the guardians, their creators intended, or be consumed by the darkness of their own making. The war-torn void around the ancient relic pulsed with energy, a silent storm ready to break. The humans aboard the Valiant and Allied ships felt the surge coursing through their veins, an awakening unlike anything the galaxy had seen in millennia. General Mia Torres stood firm on the bridge, eyes blazing with a fierce calm. This is our moment, she said. The Empire wants to destroy us, but they don't understand we are no longer just fighters, we are guardians. Lieutenant Jaya Patel, newly gifted with enhanced senses and reflexes, nodded. We fight not just for Earth, but for the entire galaxy. In the darkened corridors of the Imperator, Admiral Korath raged, his grip on power slipping like sand through his fingers. Deploy everything, he barked. No mercy, no surrender. But even his mighty fleet faltered in the relic's presence. Ships malfunctioned, weapons jammed, and crew members fell ill to strange psychic backlash. Korath's arrogance was his downfall. The ancient relic, a sentient, vault of power and knowledge. unleashed waves of energy that intertwined with the awakened humans. It amplified their latent abilities, mental fortitude, physical strength, healing, transforming desperate fighters into unstoppable warriors. On the battlefield, humans moved with superhuman precision. Jaya led a squadron of enhanced soldiers, their synchronized strikes dismantling Imperial forces with surgical efficiency. "Keep pushing," she commanded. "For Earth, for freedom." The Zarketh soldiers, once confident in their dominance, now faced an enemy unlike any they had imagined, an enemy born of ancient power and unbreakable will. As the relic's energy spread, alien species, oppressed by the Empire, rallied behind humanity's cause, swelling the ranks of the rebellion. In the final confrontation above Earth's atmosphere, the Valiant and the Imperator faced off in a battle that would decide the fate of the galaxy. Admiral Korath, desperate, unleashed a barrage designed to obliterate the relic and its human hosts. But the relic responded with a blinding pulse, rendering the Imperator inert and leaving Korath vulnerable. General Torres ordered the final strike. "Our ancestors made us for this. To protect, to endure, to win." The Valiant fired its weapon, a fusion of human ingenuity and precursor technology that pierced the Imperator's defenses, crippling the flagship and forcing Korath into retreat. With their leader's defeat, Imperial forces scattered, their empire unraveling. As the relic's energy settled, humanity and its allies stood victorious, not just as survivors, but as the galaxy's new guardians. Torres addressed the coalition. "This war has changed us all. The Empire's tyranny ends today, but our duty begins." The relic's voice echoed in the minds of all present, a calm promise and warning. Guardianship is eternal. Protect the balance, nurture life, and stand vigilant against the darkness. On Earth, the survivors rebuilt, united not only by blood and battle but by purpose. The once trapped planet had become a beacon, a symbol of hope and strength for all who longed to be free. Lieutenant Jaya Patel gazed at the stars, feeling the ancient power steady within her. "We are more than humans now," she whispered. "We are the guardians we were always meant to be." And across the stars the galaxy breathed anew, watched over by those forged in fire, tempered by war, and risen to greatness.